Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to our first podcast. My name is Manolo, and I'm here with Prodigal,
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
who just released his first EP, The Resistance. Go check it out if you haven't already. It's currently streaming on streaming. It's actually currently streaming on YouTube and SoundCloud. We'll leave links down below. So, Prodigal, let's dive in and talk about the EP. What's it about?
Well, this CP is it's about real life, honestly. Because life is not always happy, and this music is for those people who are living in that, who understand that, and who feel like they're alone in that.
Hmm.
And that's why I feel like God put these songs in my heart to write and to perform. Um, yeah, just it's this is supposed to be a beacon of hope for people.
Hmm.
Whether you know God or not, this is supposed to be something that can help you through those dark times.
Yeah. No, and I really like the word that you said, a beacon, because I mean, you think about a beacon. What is it used for? A beacon is used. I don't know if you play Minecraft. You probably don't. You probably haven't. But when I played it, there was like this thing that you can actually use it. It was a beacon, and if you were to put it down and you were to go away from it, the beacon would be like a light shooting straight up into outer space. And anytime you lost yourself, you can look back at that beacon and you knew there was hope. You knew that you hadn't lost everything because there was a beacon.
Right.
You know. So so what inspired you to write this song, "Temptation"?
Uh, well, at the time that I was writing it, I was going through some battles in my life. Just newly married at that time, so it was tough trying to transition from being single and whatnot, to being married, to having that responsibility. I would constantly be thinking about my past life, thinking about again that freedom that I had, or what I thought was freedom, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, it was just constantly being haunted by my past, basically.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I just wanted to write a song about that maybe people could relate to.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of us, we sometimes can can get lost in the past, and it holds on to us. And like, whether it be regret, whether it be any temptation that we went through, like it's like it holds us, and because of that, we can't move on. We're stuck in progress, and we're trying to do new things, but like we're constantly you know staying behind. You know.
Right. And honestly, that's what temptation is. It's something that you crave.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people think that when they hear the word temptation, it has to deal with uh, something sexual or sensual. But that's just not the case. It's literally about any time that you're craving something, like I said, whether it be your past, whether it be drugs,
Yeah.
or it could be something sexual, but just that's what temptation is, and whatever that is for that whoever's listening, it we all experience it. You guys, like I said, you guys aren't alone in that.
Hmm.
But everybody's situation is different. But honestly, the way that we get out is always going to be through Christ. Um,
Yeah.
no matter how hard the situation is, it it gets done through Christ.
Yeah. And that's really the only way. I feel like, personally speaking, I feel like like because I feel like this life is definitely, it's possible, to live this life without Christ. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, you have people, going into like their 80s or 90s or 100s, they're still living without God, but it's like, it gets you thinking like, what's life after that? And on top of that, like, life is only harder without like Christ in our lives. Like Christ makes it even easier, you can say. Not easy. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy to be a Christian, but it's possible, and there's, like we said, a beacon, you know. But that actually, I guess that actually brings me to kind of my third question is, what were you going through during the time that you wrote this song?
Uh, so, like I said earlier, it was what I was going through was battling that temptation of wanting the freedom again, wanting to have like alone time, I guess you could say, or just hanging out with friends and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, hanging out with friends and having your alone time isn't bad. Um, but it was getting to the point for me that I would neglect my wife in the beginning. Um,
Yeah.
and I was acting as still my own person, which when you get married, you do become one with that person. You guys begin to share your lives together, um, and I just didn't want to accept that. So that's what I was going through when I wrote that song.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like, even along with that, like a lot of, I feel like we see a lot of marriages nowadays. I feel like, we see a lot of marriages falling nowadays, and it's sad to see. And one of those reasons, I mean, yeah, sure, we can talk about finances, and I think you and your wife actually, you went through something, right, with your finances, and that actually brought you closer. But even, I mean, you can tell everyone else about that if you want. But along with that, yeah, sure, it's finances, but on top of that, it's temptation. Like a lot of us, we can get stuck in drugs, and we see marriages fall like crazy because someone's addicted to something, or going taking a step back, whether it be any type of, like temptation, whether it be pornography, whether it be like cars or anything like that, because anything nowadays, it feels like it could be a temptation, if we're staring the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah, and exactly. And that's what it when it becomes a problem is when it starts, overcoming everything else in your life. When it starts taking control of your life.
Hmm.
Just like a quick example, like you said, like just as it could be as little as with cars.
Hmm.
It can literally consume you, so
Yeah.
that you're draining your last penny into,
Hmm.
modifying your car or whatever it is. Um, and again, we're not down talking any of this stuff, but when it becomes to the point where it overtakes you, and it starts bringing friction into either your relationship with yourself or with your loved one, whatever the case is. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about when it becomes so overpowering that it just controls us.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about that, like I was reading the book of Proverbs the other day, and it was talking about, in a sense, like adultery, right? And it's talking about a man not to fall for like the strange lips, which is the adulterous woman, or like her devious ways, or like her lying ways. Don't let her trick you, because that's all temptation. And it literally says at the very end of the explanation, it's like, look, when you follow that, when you fall into it, and while you're following it, you're going to your grave. You're leading, like, it's not obviously, like, obviously it's a metaphor. It's not anything physical, like you're not literally walking to your grave. But it's more like, like, yeah, I like the way you said it, and it's actually like really, I guess you can say raw, but it's like an ox going to the slaughterhouse when you're, in a sense, following your temptation. And that's really raw, but like that's like the truth of it. That's what it does. Um, but uh, but yeah, I mean, it's so crazy what a temptation can do to you when you fall into it. Um,
Right.
but uh, Let me ask you this, prodigal. You know, what does yeah, what does a prodigal mean? And well, to you, I guess. And why did you decide to name yourself that?
Well, prodigal is a parable that Jesus spoke of in Luke chapter 15 verses 11 through 32.
Hmm.
And it basically talks about the son who decides to leave his father, to go into the world, or to go do things his own way. And he takes all of his treasures from his father.
Yeah.
Um, his part of the estate, they say. And he goes and he blows it all, when he goes out into the world, on a whole bunch of different things it explains. But it gets to the point where, he loses everything. And he comes to the realization that he had everything that he needed with the father. And, that he felt like embarrassed, I guess you could say, or even
Yeah.
ashamed, that he even left the father in the first place. But it's that moment that drives him back to the father. And instead of, in his thought, he was going to get like scolded, he was going to get yelled at, he was going to basically become a servant for his father, instead of his son. That's when he goes back to the father, he doesn't receive that. He receives grace. He receives love.
Yeah.
The father comes running to him with open arms, when he sees his son, and they throw a party for him. And that's what is the meaning behind it. And for me, that just really touches my heart, because I'm that lost son. I'm that son who went off into the world to do his own thing, who rejected his father, basically. And this is me coming back to the father. Because I haven't lived my whole life as a Christian, as a follower.
Yeah.
But it's never too late to turn back to God, and when we do, just as that man received his son, the same way Christ receives us when we come back. He comes running to us with open arms, ready to receive us with love.
Yeah. No, and it's so amazing, and I think you said it. It's never too late to start over.
Right.
Never too late to start over, and that's so amazing, because a lot of us, I feel like, we have that in mind. It's like, oh my gosh, it's too late. I did it. I can't go back. It's on my history. It's like, it's like, if you do something terrible on your job and they put it like on your record, like it's on there forever. But like the thing is, like Christ works differently. Christ doesn't work the way the world works. Christ doesn't say, oh well, you did this, before, and because of that I can't let you through, or because of that I can't give you more. God isn't like that. Christ isn't like that. And it's so amazing that God, that Christ gives us that opportunity to be better.
Yeah. Yeah, and he does. Because again, think about it. Like, well, at least in my situation, the things that I've done. When I look back at that, and I think about, if I were in God's position, would I forgive myself?
Yeah.
And I'm honest right now. I always come up with the answer no. Like I wouldn't forgive myself, but that's not who God is. He loves us, and it's just overwhelming how much he does. And it's crazy to think how he's on our side. He holds all the power in his hands, and yet he chooses to love us. He chooses to seek us out. He chooses to forgive us, and he chooses to, want to be patient with us, so that we can live the kind of life that he designed all of us to have, and to live.
Yeah. No, and it's so amazing. And I think about the brother sometimes, because the brother can be, that brother, that literal brother in the church, who rejects the brother and is like, no, 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 why do you give him that? Why does he get blessed? Why don't I get blessed? And I feel like people can, in a sense, like even like a lot of brothers or sisters in Christ, they can be so selfish that they don't even see where you've come from,
Yeah.
And adding on to that, it's like, it's like the parable of the lost sheep. It's the same. I think it's actually in the same chapter,
Hmm.
but it's a lot. It's read a lot better in the book of Luke. That God goes out of his way. He leaves the 99 sheep behind to go for the one,
Yeah.
and it's so amazing that God does that.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, guys. And that's just what we're trying to accomplish here today is just to show everybody and to speak of God, just to show everybody who he is,
Hmm.
instead of these misconceptions about who God is, because you definitely don't need, and this is what actually made me stay away for so long, was believing that people who were in God thought that they were these perfect people. And I think that that's such a strong misconception in today's world. And like I said, I believe it because that's what I believed before I came to know God. Um, God isn't looking for perfect people. God is
Yeah.
He's looking for people who will be willing
Hmm.
to learn from their mistakes, to grow from that pain. And truly, I believe that actually having God in your life and wanting to better yourself like that is actually even harder than being in the world, because it actually makes you confront those battles that you're
Yeah.
facing. Because I know when I was in the world, man, when I was facing battles, I would run to drugs, to drinking, to whatever it was, that I would run to, and it would feel good for that moment, but then it would go away, and that's kind of where the enemy wants to keep us, is in that temporary pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's what a temptation is. It'll make you feel good for that moment, but then after, you feel worse than you did before. Um, and that's what I really want to accomplish in this song is, just like I said, to let people know that they're not alone, that there is a way to get out. Um, and it's not about being perfect. It's about just being willing to try, um, to overcome these things that come against you.
Yeah. And something that you kind of added, or at least at least I mean I might have heard it wrong, but sorry, but I remember reading this poem, and the poem said that church isn't a building for good people, it's a hospital for the broken,
Yeah.
which means like you don't gotta hide anything that you are. You go in and you show yourself, and you know right now, I kind of want to take the time and apologize. I want to apologize to every person, or I don't know if I'm putting my words right. I didn't do well in English class, but but I want to apologize, I guess, in a way, to every person who's been treated wrongfully in the church, because ever since whatever happened 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we've kept away from what happened because of how someone mistreated us from the church, in the church. And we're like, well, if they're like that, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
If this is what it's like to be a Christian, I don't want any of it, because that's nothing I want. And I think that's kind of along with your testimony, right? You wanted nothing to do, right? Because of what you saw.
Yeah, no, I didn't want anything to do with what I thought God was. But that was the like I said, that misconception. That was religion.
Mhm.
What I saw was religion, and
Mhm.
I think that's what a lot of us see. Um, but that's the thing, having Christ in your life isn't religion; it's a relationship, and I'm sure people have heard that a lot, but truly it is. It's a relationship with Christ, because He is the only one who's going to get you into heaven. He's the only one who has the power to forgive you. He's the only one who has the power to change you for the better. So why waste our time, looking for the approval of others, or, trying to see what the pastor says about us or the people in the church say about us. That doesn't matter. And like you said, we apologize for anybody who has been mistreated by somebody that's in the church, because I do know what it feels like to go through that. And man, it makes you feel even more lost, because it's like, well, if I can't even turn to supposedly what God's supposed to be, then what am I supposed to turn to? And that really makes us feel so alone in this world.
Yeah.
But again, that's not who God is. God is, it's that relationship with him, and it's not about the religion. It's not about working. Nothing we can do is going to get us into heaven. Mm-hmm. It's only by the grace of God that we get into heaven, and because of his love.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing that we do will ever be able to I guess, satisfy Christ.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Man, totally lost my point right there. I was about to say something, but going from that, let's move on to the next question. Is what advice would you give to those to those who find themselves lost, whether it be in temptation, addiction, or to people who might not even know who to run to during their tough situation?
I think the best advice that I can give is definitely surround yourself with people who are gonna, lift you up, people who are going to encourage you. And again, this is for people who know or who don't know Christ. Being around people who are gonna leave a positive influence on you is, at the end of the day, gonna make you happier. It's gonna make you like a stronger person, and it's gonna make you start to believe in yourself again. Because we get put down a lot. We really do. We hear all these negative things, either as kids, or by our boss, or whoever it is. There's a lot of negativity in this world, and the first step is surrounding yourself with people who are gonna encourage you, who are gonna lift you up.
And I believe, I believe that's so important, that you surround yourself by people who, in a sense, not necessarily like-minded, because I can be, in a sense, like a loser, and if I surround myself by more losers, it's like I'm gonna be more of a loser, in a way. But going with that, like hanging out with people who are in a way like-minded, but who are, and are also positive.
Yeah.
Because if you hang around by positive people, whether we think or not, that is gonna slowly impacts our day. It slowly begins to break down through that wall, and it gets to us. And then as soon as we have a bad situation, we start going crazy because we're hanging around by people who are, who don't treat their situations correctly. If I'm sitting in a car with you, and and I'm just like, oh man, this for example, this effing sucks, and I start screaming and blabbering, and you're gonna be fine. But then later when you get in your car, you might even do the same thing, because I'm in a sense watering all of my all of my negativity on you, and then that becomes your fruit. So whether we think or not, that has such huge impact on who we hang out with or not. But is there anything else you'd like to add, Particle?
Let's see.
Yeah, there's so much to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot, and none of us have all the answers. I certainly don't. But I think going along with that, that's the other thing that we need to start doing, is being patient.
Yeah.
because like I wrote this song, in I think it was like 4 hours. I wrote the whole song.
Yeah.
But I didn't fully complete, this living this song. It was years. It was years that I was stuck in that temptation. This doesn't happen overnight, and I don't think it ever does. This is something that we constantly got to be working towards. Or not even working towards, but moving toward. Because again, it's not by our works that we can do, that we can be more patient, that we can stop the temptation, or whatever the case is. But as long as we're moving in the right direction and we're listening to that voice of to God's voice, and again surrounding yourself with positivity, then we're taking a step in the right direction, and that's enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to have it down within a week. This takes time. It like I said, for me, it took years, and there's still things that tempt me today. It's just I think a part of going through this journey with Christ. We face something new every day, or sometimes it's the same thing that haunts us every day. But regardless of what it is, it takes time to get over it, and we need to remember that we need to be patient with ourselves, and we need to again just surround ourselves with people who are gonna help lift us up, and be that somebody who helps lift people up. That's what we're called for. We're called as sons and daughters to be the light of the world, and that starts within you, starts within me. That's what we need to do, because the world is crazy right now, and
Yeah.
it's only getting worse. But this isn't a time to sit down and take what's going down. It's time to stand up and fight back, and trying to help every single person we can that's fallen.
Yeah. Yeah. And, another thing is too, we don't have to, when we fall, we don't have to get up and, try to be perfect again, because it isn't about being perfect. It isn't about that. It could be, and I love that God is so patient in, in every moment. Every time we fall, he's so patient. And I feel like, in that moment, we're wanting to understand, which actually brings us, what's it called? That's actually, the name of your next song, right? Want to understand. And it's, man, I can't wait for it. I can't even wait for it. That's it. That's it for this time, everybody. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we ask that you tune in next time. Thanks, everybody, and God bless.
God bless everybody.